In hard session 3 now, as you can see I'm dripping with sweat. Worked hard. Today's session was 3 times 20 with 2 minutes rest in between, and then 6 times 10 with 1 minute rest in between. And that was a session recommended by John Simmons. So good session, highly recommend it. Thanks, John.
Hi guys, and welcome to my blog. It's only 25 days left to go until DW. Now today I'm going to talk about the importance of a prepared and an effective support crew. What does an effective support crew look like? Well, I guess the most obvious thing is, one, they need to be where they say they're going to be and feed you what you need. And when I say feed you what you need, I mean what you need, not just what they happen to have in their bag or in their car. They need to be prepared and have the variety of stuff. They need to know what you're eating and give you what you want. Two, they need to keep you warm. And I don't mean just by providing extra layers when you ask for it. If the support crew notice the temperature dropping or the paddlers looking cold, then they should initiate more clothes to be put on. It's very, very common that crews leave it to the last minute, far too late, to start sort of putting more and more clothes on. So the support crew should be, in effect, be one step ahead of this game. And thirdly, what your support crew should be doing is they should be there at the portages, and especially at the night, guiding you in and through the portages. When you're paddling up to the portages, as most people who've done the race will know, is often you can't see the portages, especially on the canal. And those that you can see, you can't really see the best get out position. So your support crew should be there, visible. You should know what they look like, i.e. they should constantly be wearing the same thing, whether it's a glow stick, or whether it's a purple jacket, or whatever it may well be. You should be able to identify your support crew, and they should be there at the portage, guiding you in to the best get out position, and then guiding you through the portage to the best get in position. Fourthly, they need to be prepared with spare paddles and rudders and toolkits should anything go wrong, so they've got everything there and they can just step in and fix them. And that means they should also know how to change the rudder wire and what it involves changing the rudder wire of the specific boat you'll be paddling. It's also a good idea, while we're talking about rudder wires, is to change your rudder wire before you start in Devizes. I've known a number of crews over the years whose rudder wires have snapped, and they look okay, but if your boat's a few years old, you never quite know. So rudder wires, what, 10 quid? So it's not worth the risk. So buy a new set of rudder wires, change it, and at least you'll have peace of mind that that probably isn't going to snap because it's a new rudder wire. Fifthly, they should always be aware of your position in the race and your time in relation to the other boats. And this is helpful because if you're catching boats, then they can tell you this, and this will motivate you further. If you're a minute behind a boat or 30 seconds behind a boat, they can tell you this, and this will motivate you to catch that boat and get in front of them. Sixthly, your support crew should be there providing motivation and encouragement. It should all be very, very positive. You're doing well, you're 5 minutes up, you're 2 minutes up, you had a really fast stretch there. And it's stuff that sort of gives you a mental boost. We don't need to hear bad news. When you're paddling along, you've got a lot of time to think about what you could have done better, and you've got a lot of time to dwell on things that perhaps haven't gone so well. And we're good enough at doing that ourselves. We don't need to hear bad news. What we do need to hear is a lot of positive news, how well we're doing, and keep it real. Don't just try and blag your way through it. So you're 2 minutes up on X, or you've increased your time since the last portage from X boat. So give it something so they can sort of focus on some sort of factual information like that, and that will drive your crew along. They need to work in unity, sharing information amongst the different supporters, and this is very important if you have 2 cars, which many people do. Each and every person in that support team need to know what's going on, and they need to know the current picture with their crew. As an example of support crew spotting problems and issues before they arise, if your crew has let's say a dodgy shoulder, or they've complained about an elbow or an arm injury or whatever it may be, then over a period of time there's a tendency for that minor niggle or injury to suddenly grow exponentially in the paddler's mind, because they've got nothing else to think about for 15-20 hours, and minor things become big problems, and in actual fact most of the time it's in the mind. So a good support crew will notice that there is this potential issue here, and they'll try to divert attention away from it, or if that's not possible, to reassure them and not allow what is a small problem to become a big problem in someone's mind. Finally, but most importantly, the job of the support crew is to make sure that their crews get to the finish line. to make sure their crews get to Westminster, because that's really what it's all about. And it sounds so easy, huh? Just, you give them some banana, get them done the course, but it's not. It's not that simple. Some years, in the hard years, and when I say hard, I mean when it's really cold, you know, up to 50% of people pull out. And they don't pull out because, you know, they're incapacitated or they've got a broken arm or leg or whatever it is. They pull out, generally speaking, because they've been mentally broken. Yes, they may cite, oh, but my arm, but my leg, or but my back, but my stomach. It's all rubbish. It's all bollocks, guys. It's utter rubbish. It's excuses because they've been mentally broken. And it is as simple as that. Now, the support crew just needs to be aware that their crews may come up with these excuses, their back, their chest, whatever it is, but sometimes they need to be strong and say, no, get back in that boat. And if you tell your crew to get back in that boat, we'll discuss it at next portage. You know, often by the time you get to next portage, they paddle through the pain and things are okay. So, you know, it may be sometimes a battle of the wills with your paddlers, but your job is to get them down the course. And if you prevent them from pulling out and they get down the course, they will be eternally grateful. I've known far too many crews that have said, you know, we need to stop, and the support crew have said, okay. And they have regretted it because they know in their heart of hearts that they could have gone on, but it was all too easy for them to stop. They offered it up and the support crew accepted it, and that was it, and their race was over. So the most important thing is, do not allow your crew to stop, even if they want to. Tell them to get back on the water, we'll discuss it later, and just keep them going and keep them going and keep them going. And most crews, you know, if you've got that kind of mentality, will get down. So that's it for support crews. So I hope training's going well, and back tomorrow.